Hello everybody, Treno here, and I'm back with another dev blog, this time about fire extinguishers for aircraft engines. Now I'm sure we've all been there, we've all been in a situation where we've got into a dogfight or we've been hit by enemy fire and the engine catches fire. And there's not really a lot you can actually do in this situation. You can try diving or turning off the engine, but no course of action really seems to be a guarantee of stopping fires. It does seem to be a bit of a coin flip on whether the fire will burn through your aircraft, destroying it, or if it will go out relatively quickly and with relatively little damage. So adding fire extinguishers to this situation would be a way of adding some certainty on what is going to happen. Now we've got a bit of information on the fire extinguishers themselves. They're going to be coming in the next patch, and basically there are going to be two types of them, automatic and manual. Obviously, automatic ones will just activate on their own in the event of a fire, whereas manual ones will need to be activated by the player themselves. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of difference between these because you're always going to notice if your engine is on fire. The only time I could see this being an issue is in multi-engine bombers on simulator mode, possibly, where you're locked in the cockpit view and thus can't tell if your engines are actually on fire. But yeah, basically there's not going to be much difference between the two. And when you activate it, your engine will become inoperable, you won't be able to restart it, it will just be completely dead. And the only way to fix it is going back to the airfield and repairing fire the usual way. Though interestingly, you will get your fire extinguisher back again when you've repaired, which is unlike tanks where you only get the two uses and then that's it. I don't think there's any other way of getting more uses of the fire extinguisher. And of course they have taken into account that people will probably press the wrong button, so you will only be able to activate it in the event of a fire. Also interestingly, like with other modifications, you can just disable it by just removing the modification. I can't imagine a situation you would ever want to do this in, unless it adds a ton of weight to the plane, but honestly I cannot see a reason you would ever take it off. And as you can see here, the modification will be a tier 4, assuming it's going to be the same with all aircraft. Now this is actually worse than tanks, where you have to get to tier 2 to unlock the fire extinguishers. So you basically got no way of saving your tank in the event of a fire. But here it's going to be less of an issue because fires are less common than they are in tanks, and it's not a guaranteed death like with tanks. Like I said, it's a coin flip, but it's not a definite you are going to die. So this will probably be less of an issue, I'm hoping. So I feel like this will be less of an issue to the player base than it is with tanks. And we've got a list of all the aircraft and helicopters down here. Now I'm not going to read through the entire list, but there definitely does seem to be a bias towards American and Soviet aircraft, with just a smattering of other aircraft for other nations being included. And there also seems to be a bias towards multi-engine bombers, so the Tu-4, B-29, B-17, PB-4Y, PBJ, B-24, etc, etc. As you get to the higher tiers, it does seem to include a lot more fighter jets, but definitely a bias towards bombers. I won't comment on helicopters because I've not used helicopters. I don't know if helicopters suffer worse in regards to fires, but from my experience on aircraft, I think this will be a very good addition to the game. I don't think it'll be a game-changing addition because, like I said, fires are rarer and there is a chance of surviving, but this will definitely help even a few situations, improve survivability of bombers, while also not being completely overpowered because of course they will still lose their engine. So yeah, I'm really glad this has been added to the game, but I don't think this will be a major game changer. Do you think this will be a very big deal? Will this be a good or negative impact to the game? I'd like to hear your views in the comments below. So anyway, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.